This is the Mongzong, or the NERF lever-action tube-fed Gunblade. And not only does this blaster do some stuff you will not find in pretty much any other NERF foam dart blaster, it's also in a form factor you won't really find in any other NERF foam dart blaster. I love this thing so much. I'm gonna unbox this thing, show you every tip and trick I know, demonstrate how it performs with every spin and barrel combo it comes with, test its accuracy, and then, of course, explain to you why it's like my favorite blaster ever, and demonstrate how it has possibly one of the highest skill gaps for any NERF blaster out there. I mean, yeah, it's a little difficult to use, but my goodness, if it is not unlike anything else you will see out there. These were sent to me by Phantom Toys. You'll find a link to them down in the description below if you want to pick one of these things up. And I've actually had these for a couple of months. They just sent me over 2 new ones because they found a flaw they wanted to fix before they had me do this video. Which means I have been sitting on one of my favorite blasters ever for months, unable to tell you about it. We've got painted clear, the best color, and your standard orange. And mine came with the blaster itself with the blade removed, and we'll talk about that here in a second, the rubber flexible blade, and then the brand new extended blade. This is, I think, a side upgrade you have to pay for, but if you want the longer blade, you can definitely get one. 2 spring upgrades, and a barrel upgrade. Not to mention a couple of darts, and then a small baggie with tools and spare parts. This is how the blaster looks like without the blade attached, and the blade is a pretty soft rubber, but it does have a very firm core. Let me put this out there right at the bat. This is not a melee weapon. This is just a melee-shaped blaster. This is a ranged blaster first with the aesthetics of a melee weapon, but it's never meant to be used like that. Do not dumb, this is dumb-free area. You can see how it looks with the stock barrel and the stock blade length, and yeah, this thing looks cool. But I personally want to see how it looks with the extended blade, because that just looks awesome. And it's just a little clip-in thing. You just kind of line up the white parts with the little indents and push it home. It's a little tight, but you can do it. And it's a little floppy, but that is legit cool. That's a way better length than the original.
Phrasing, boom! Inappropriate.
In your bag of tricks here, you do get every Allen key size you need to completely disassemble the blaster if you choose to. But this little key right here serves 2 purposes. One, you can use it to pop out your rubber blade, but you can also use it to remove the spring. You just kind of pop it in there, twist, and you can remove the cap and the spring and change out your spring. Put it back in there and twist with a press, and you can lock it into place and you're good to go. The barrel replacement is slightly trickier. You do need one of the Allen keys. Should be the smallest one in your pack, and you're gonna loosen these screws right here holding in your barrel. There's 2 on each side. And it's easier to do this if you remove the blade, but once you loosen those screws, you can very easily pull out your magazine. There is a small spring and a follower and a pin, but now you can take out your barrel and you can replace it with a longer option that will give you a boost in performance if you're using one of the heavier weight springs. Fish our mag tube spring back in there, put our follower back in. Yeah, we're ready to go. Covering the Mongzong, we of course got the front, which has a blade on it. While it is made of rubber, it's not really compressible, so do not actually strike something with it. Then we've got our barrel with the longer barrel installed. We do have a little bit exposed, so we can put on some kind of muzzle stabilization device. Keep in mind, it also has to be able to clear the blade unless you want to ditch the blade. You don't have to have this on there. Up top, we've got our magazine tube. It does hold 4 foam darts, and you don't need any kind of shells or anything. Take some of the darts the blaster actually came with here. To load this thing, you can just kind of shove them in there, depending on which darts you have. Otherwise, you can pull back the gate right there. That's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And that is the maximum, unless you do something like load one into the chamber and then load another one in for a total of 4 + 1 or 5. Right here, you can see the actual pusher, so if we prime the blaster by pulling that down, That's going to pop this piece up, and it's going to feed a dart backwards with that spring pressure, so when you close it, it actually drops the dart down and pushes it into the barrel and seals it. This is the pusher right here that's connected to the lever, so when you prime that back, it's actually pushing itself into the plunger tube and cocking the entire system. And then this back here in the grip is your actual entire plunger system. The entire blaster is injection molded. And then finally back here, we have that quick spring swap. Out of the box, there is no kind of Picatinny rails or anything like that. These are not M-lock slots or anything like that. So unfortunately, you cannot, out of the box anyway, attach a scope to your gun blade. The blaster itself is a good 17 inches, with the extended blade bringing that to about 24.5. It will work with pretty much any 16mm outer diameter barrel, so you are encouraged to kind of pick whatever works for you. And of course, it's very easy to swap springs, meaning you can effortlessly test where you want this thing to hit velocity-wise. There's the big boy. And now, in actual seconds, yeah, this thing's kind of scary. Velocity-wise, the Mongzong can hit quite a few different velocity points. You can pause the video here if you want to see the details, but the main takeaway is with the short barrel and the weak spring, you can get under 100 feet per second. With the shorter barrel and medium spring, hitting under 130 feet per second velocities, which is good for humans versus zombies. So yeah, it's not exactly the strongest blaster out there or anything. It's not like super pro performance, or unless you put in the heavyweight spring, and that's where this video goes completely off the rails. With just the short barrel and the heavyweight spring, I was able to hit over 190 feet per second velocities. That is just about stronger than anything you'd find on store shelves right now and break several velocity caps. And hold on, I get to talk about this for a little bit. You see this blaster? It looks like it's something extremely long, but that's just because it's in this weird configuration. The actual blaster is extremely compact, so for it to be able to hit that kind of velocity, that is a big deal. And I'll raise you one better. This one blaster, without swapping out a barrel, just quick swapping a spring, can hit under 100 feet per second if you want to play with like stock blasters, under 130 feet per second if you want to play humans versus zombies, and almost 200 feet per second if you want to play with the big dogs. Those numbers do change a little bit if you move on to the longer barrel. It doesn't work with the light spring, really. Some shots don't even leave the barrel, and the ones that do are very weak. But that longer barrel does give you the option to use a muzzle stabilization device, which you'll probably want with your 200 plus feet per second velocities. Absolutely nuts. That is very, very tasty. And that's why I've been so excited for this blaster. It can do so much in one package that is unlike anything else you're gonna be carrying. This design does give you a bunch of different ways that you can holster it and carry it on you, unlike a typical blaster shape. There is a flaw though, and you've probably figured it out by now, and that is actually trying to hit something with it. That isn't to say that the Mongzong can't be accurate, but there are two things fighting against you. One, with a longer barrel, there isn't a whole lot of barrel exposed for you to comfortably sit any kind of muzzle stabilization on it. You'll have to mix and match, but most blasters need about an inch of barrel, and you only get about half an inch here. If there's a gap between the bearings and the barrel, that's gonna destabilize your dart and cause you some problems. However, you can also just find a different barrel and mix and match until you find something that works for you. And two, well, the main problem is the design of the blaster. The design of the Mongzong does not exactly work well when it comes to being a precision instrument. I mean, just look at this thing. It's not exactly a typical blaster shape, and to aim it, you'd have to do something like this. It's not impossible, but it's very difficult. There's no way to add any kind of rail or anything on it at this time, and the built-in iron sights, not only are they really difficult to use, but I didn't find them to be all that useful in general, which is why the Mongzong has an exceptionally high skill cap. Anybody can use the blaster, hip fire, and probably hit something, but the more you use the blaster, the more you get used to it, and the more you'll be able to get out of the design. For the novice, this thing is definitely meant more for close combat. Even at the highest spring loads, it's very easy to prime. And at the lower spring loads, you can see that I was doing that flip cocking earlier with one hand. This is something that's going to vary blaster to blaster, but to get this thing to flip cock without any kind of extra weight or anything on the end with the light and medium weight springs, the medium one requires a lot more force to do it, unfortunately. It's not exactly that comfortable. You have to loosen all the screws and probably use some Loctite to kind of get them where they're just tight enough where they won't fall out and there's no wiggling, but not so tight that it actually jams up the system. And then lube the entire thing with something that's really thin, not really water-based or anything like that. You can kind of guess what I'm talking about without doing anything above PG-13, but yeah, you can get these to flip cock pretty easily. To help that is the long blade, which is, yeah, that makes me uncomfortable. Again, trying to keep this PG-13. However, the added mass does make it extremely easy to flip cock. So this one has a ton of TLC and uses the lightweight spring. This one has no TLC and uses the middleweight spring. This one has the heavyweight spring, and you could. Oh, it's so close. If I were to actually lube this thing up and work with it, I bet you I could get it to flip cock at 200 feet per second velocities. Does increase the overall length, and once again, I'm gonna tell you this is not a melee tool at all. It is not safe for that. This feels pretty fantastic. I need some kind of sheath on my lower back where I can put these two like that. Yeah. There is one other issue with the Mongzong that can crop up and you need to be ready for it, and that is jamming. Depending on the quality of the darts you're putting in this thing, it really likes fresh darts. You're gonna wind up with issues where it doesn't feed properly sometimes, and it can also be affected by the way you prime this thing. If you kind of prime it like this, well, the dart doesn't exactly index properly. It's not hard to fix a jam. If you have some kind of screwdriver or tool, you can just very easily pull the dart in and you're ready to go. And it does matter if you're trying to run this thing too hard or you don't run it properly, like you kind of limp wrist it. These can all lead to jamming issues. Once you get it down, it's not really a problem, especially when using fresh darts. But if you aren't using fresh darts, your mileage is going to vary considerably. So where does that leave the Mongzong when it comes to being a practical weapon of Nerf warfare? And it's definitely not something you want to have to rely on all the time, because the system is going to be a little bit finicky unless you feel like yours works perfectly fine. It's also not going to be the blaster for everyone due to its weird shape and its high skill cap. And prices are going to vary because this thing's not only being sold by Phantom Toys, but being sold all over the place, usually around 100 USD. Now keep in mind, injection molded metal parts, all that kind of stuff, it still seems like it's a lot for a blaster like this. However, there is a lot of value here, where the main reason is that this blaster can hit so many different velocity points very quickly with an almost toolless spring swap. In fact, if you just have a coin, you can swap these springs out all day. And of course, it's a super unique and attractive design. Not only is it an actual gun blade, but it's a lever action that you could just load darts into without any kind of shells or shell ejection or anything like that. Humans versus zombie players, I don't know if I could recommend this for anything other than like a tertiary blaster that you can use as a last-ditch situation or when you don't feel the heat and you just want to plink around. But for the weekend Nerf warrior, this is something that is so much fun that you probably have never experienced before and can do pretty much everything you need a foam dart blaster to do. For casual play, it's just awesome. And increasing your skill level with this thing is gonna make every tag feel great. Quite simply, there's nothing else really like this. It's a freaking gun blade lever action. There probably will never be another thing like this. And if that's what you want, hey, the links are down below in the description. Clearly, this is one of my favorite blasters of all time. You can even shotgun with it if you want to. The actual platform itself is so freaking flexible. And if this is your thing and something you've been waiting for, I cannot recommend it enough. It is absolutely a specialty blaster, that's for sure. I have a very soft spot in my heart for like dual dagger builds, and these ones fire dart. They're lever action. I can't get any better than this.